the cry of marginalization is because governance is not reaching down to the majority of the people. The wealth of the country, the wealth and resources of the country is in the hand of a few. The pretension, arguably, about, if once you create a state, I'm saying that before you can start the argument for new state creation, how functional, Femi, how functional are the ones that are existing? The mentality, the manipulative tendencies of the elite is what is fostering the cry for marginalization. And that's why I tell you that it's an elite conversation. State creation is an elite conversation.
This is Volume with FemiDlive. Super excited as always to read your comments. And yes, the national issues that we do bring and conversations we do have always lead us somewhere we do not know oftentimes. But we know it moves the country forward. And we're grateful and graceful doing that every day. I'm Femi D. Amelem. My guest today is Ezenwa Nwagu. He's Director, Parent Advocacy and Advancement Center, PAACA. He's involved in elections, he's involved in national values, and yes, he has strongly advocated for some of the things that have become part of our constitution today by remaining a voice for over 30 years that helps Nigeria to build its democracy to the status where it is today. And I'm glad he's on the show with us today. Welcome to Volume, sir.
Thank you, Femi. It's good coming back here again.
Yes. The last interview was really explosive. We got a lot of comments, a lot of reactions, and more importantly, people said they were highly educated. That was something that was very consistent with a lot of the feedback we got from your content and your views on quite a number of things.
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this great work you're doing here.
Yes, and there's so much to even discuss now. I mean, thinking about state creation, which is something we should focus on now more than ever before. I mean, we're looking at 67 states at the end of the count, if you follow through from the 36 we are with the FCT being added on. And I was reviewing the list of the extra states that there is. And it reminds me of a family structure. Father, mother, and one child. Father, mother, and two children. And the dynamics keep changing. Some of these states can't even cater for themselves, but they want more states, or should I say people in these states want more states. In fact, where is it coming from, the need for more states?
Well, Femi, state creation is an elite conversation. It's an elite conversation because it pivots on those who want power, who want their own share of the resources, and not about the people. The people do not care whether you are in regions or you are in states. They care about their well-being. They think about water. The states that you are talking about, even FCT where we are, how many of the communities in FCT have access to clean, potable, piped water, pipe-borne water? That's a challenge. So that's the capital, the federal capital itself. Now, when you now go to the states, the ones that are created, let me cut it short. Even the ones you have are viable. They survive from handouts from the states. And that has to do more with the indolence of the leaders, the leaders in those states, who perhaps, even when the argument for state creation comes, part of what you say is that you are viable, that you can be self-sustaining, and you present arguments for that self-sustenance. You bring all you have, mineral resources, manpower, human resource, and all that is, domiciled within the place where you want these states created. But as soon as those states are created, they become they feed from the feeding bottles that the federal government provides, which we call state allocation. And then the IGR is nothing to write home about. So when I say it's an elite conversation, you will agree with me that the majority of our people don't care about some of those issues. Our people who live in the backwater communities, who live even in cities, what they care about is that they can have schools that their children can attend in a good environment. They want to have medicines in their hospitals, and they want to have schools that are affordable if they are not free.
But then it throws in, when you do say it's an elite conversation, even the elite, in the part of the draft they submitted, that we will talk about the process of submitting the draft for review of state creation under the constitution shortly as well. But even some of the draft they created to make this kind of request is based on the well-being of the people, because they feel a good number of people are marginalized by not being captured by various processes, experiences that are ongoing in the states they already belong to. Marginalization could be from issues of allocation, resources, and the likes of that. And part of it, the whole process of state creation has been debated, is that it is about the well-being of the people.
That's a false narrative.
Why is it so?
It's a false narrative because the people have not been well catered with the states. The majority of the people in the already created states are not well catered for. And so you want to democratize what is not working. You want to democratize indolence. You want to democratize clearly. And what happens is that to capture the imagination of people in anything, you have to centralize the people in the conversation. So you have to make it about them. But our work is to see through this facade. The facade is to say it's about the people, it's about their well-being, all right? It's about marginalization. But the concept of marginalization itself is unending. Let's use Benue State, for instance, where the thieves, the Doma are dominant. But the truth of the matter is that you could probably have had a Senate president, the longest running Senate president of the country, coming from the Doma part of Benue State. Then you want to get down to the brass tacks and see how that translated to improving the living conditions of the majority of the Doma people. What you have there is that the man flies in and he has a helipad. His chopper can come in from anywhere. And
I believe that is very true, because I hear stories that it is true. He lands and
No,
takes
I'm
off.
not. These are not exaggerations. These are reality. Okay? So when you create another state, the demand for upper state, for instance, a new minority emerges, and that new minority becomes marginalized. The Igede, for instance, are also a smaller unit within that Idoma area. You understand? So what I'm saying is that the unending conversation about marginalization is not resolved by recreating what is not already solving that problem. I think that what will solve the question of marginalization will be how much of our people, tribal marks will disappear when we provide schools, when we make where we are currently livable in a way that sense of alienation is no longer available. If you understand,
yes, I do,
the point that I make. So the cry of marginalization, they are all tools by the elite. Who is marginalized? Marginalized from what?
But the southeastern region will tell you they're marginalized. Marginalized in terms of political power, marginalized in terms of resources. The southeast has 5 states at the moment. And there's talks about if it can get up to 6 or 7 states, then we could have an even distribution, especially even when it comes to issues around the elections.
The conversation is about who gets what and who shares the allocation. The 5 states of the southeast, are they Dubai of Nigeria? The ones, in every indices, this is even the most backward as we speak currently. In every, except some of the states that are states like Ebonyi, Enugu, that are, and recently Abia, trying to, at least take off
Build up.
build up those. But the challenge is not whether it's just about sharing resources. It's not about, let's focus clearly whether these conversations are about the people. And if we agree that they are not about the people, it's about create new fiefdom for me, where I can control, in this arrangement, I am not getting what I want, not what the people want. Because before the creation of these states, these were also the argument. The argument was about marginalization. The argument was about sense of belonging. We have created those states. Have they brought sense of belonging? Let's see what the current arrangement presents, for instance,
yes,
in bringing government closer to the people. You have 360 members of the House of Representatives by population. Then you have 109 by equality. And you have hundreds of state assembly members across the states. You have councillors. What are they supposed to be doing? Part of their job is to bring government where?
To the people.
To the people. Have they succeeded in doing that efficiently, effectively, and satisfactorily?
Maybe not. And reason why I do say maybe not is, so you have some states, for example, you have states where two things drive them. The population they have. Lagos State, for example, there's talks about creating lagoon states. There's talks about creating Abbas, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but Abbas states. There are talks about even taking some states' capitals to making them become states. Apparently, that's because of the kind of resources and the effectiveness that they do have in their own self and measurable independence that they may have attained under the leadership of their council leaders as we have it. Don't you think that some of these responses are deserving? Because some, apparently as it is in Nigeria, some people do better than others.
See, I just what I want to see in this conversation is how we can centralize the people in the conversation. And why do I say so? Lagos has perhaps about 13 or thereabout members of the House of Representatives because of population.
Yes.
Now, LCDs were created. Victoria Island, Ibeju-Lekki, and all of those areas. Once you shift away from those places, you see slums, unimaginable slums. Go to Ikorodu, just drive off the express road. Iyanokwaja, Ojo. These are so the people, the cry of marginalization is because governance is not reaching down to the majority of the people. The wealth of the country, the wealth and resources of the country is in the hand of a few. The pretension, arguably, about, if once you create a state, I'm saying that before you can start the argument for new state creation, how functional, Femi, how functional are the ones that are existing? You can cite Lagos. The resources, the major resources of the people of Lagos State, is it down inside Badagry? If you get down to Badagry, can you feel these resources? You can go to Atlantic. You can move around Banana Island. You can showcase those places. Who are those who stay there? So I'm more interested in a conversation that deepens how we can make the states that are already existing. I know that the Southeast argues for equality, create equality, genuine conversation. But before we do that, I want a leadership audit.
How are the leaders?
I want a leadership audit.
Yes.
What do I mean by a leadership audit?
Yes,
Since 1999 till today, I want to be able to know somebody putting in black and white allocations that have come to the current states. Their IGR.
That's internally generated revenue.
And constituency projects, both by federal and the state governments, given to members of the National Assembly and the state assemblies. When we take the quantum of resources that have been made available, let us cross-check these resources with the amenities that have been provided for the majority of the people who live in those places. You will see that those resources have not percolated. They have been built up in the hand of a few, and that is what leads to the cry of marginalization that we are having. So across the country, there is a failure of governance.
Former President Obasanjo also had the same agitation, clamping down in his neck, create more states, create more states. Rather, he opted for constituency projects as a means to respond to some of these issues. And that's about ₦1 billion, as I would understand it.
Today now.
Yes, today now.
Some senators, by their own confession, one of them put out a video that in Osun State that every senator receives at least ₦1 billion under President Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
That's recently.
Yes, and in that same video, he was also saying that members of the House of Representatives get as much as 700 million to 800 million. So, and they will tell you that these constituency projects are not handled by them, that there are companies, that it is domiciled with the MDAs. But then you ask yourself, why do they have committee clerks? Part of the work of the committee clerks is to liaise with MDAs on some of these. They have ambushed most of those projects. And indeed, there's allegations that many of them even, registered companies or their own companies and businesses are the ones handling those projects. Before we started shouting, they were claiming that they build schools and say that this school built by Senator so and so. When we started shouting, they now change it to facilitated by. And if you remember clearly, the challenge that late Chuba Okadibo had, part of the challenge that late Chuba Okadibo had was that the companies associated with members of the National Assembly at that time were the ones who ambushed some of those projects. But by and large, the challenge is if ₦1 billion truly gets approved for a senator as constituency project, if those constituency projects were truly, taken to the places where they should be and effectively implemented with clear oversight, which is their own responsibility as well. Some of the cry of marginalization that you talk about. So why did President Obasanjo intervene with the constituency projects? It was, first and foremost, it was an ambush. It was blackmail by the National Assembly members that they could not return. They were not able to return back, because they were not, their job of lawmaking, their job of lawmaking was not resonating with the ordinary people. And so that they needed things to show. That's why the whole concept of, but what do we see now? So what we see is hairdressing machines, Okada, and all of it. And then when you see that quantity, nobody takes account. Nobody takes account of the number of the motorbikes. Nobody takes account and vis-a-vis the amount that has been provided for the empowerment. So if you are doing empowerment for your constituents, for instance, and you say you have 700 million, and you put 300 million of it into where is the 400 million? And you get this periodically. So within the time of your stay in the National Assembly, that 4 years of your stay in the National Assembly, you'll be getting very close to 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, as the case may be. And where is that reflecting in our communities?
Which then brings up what you take from the communities, the resources you take, communities, local government, state level, and then you pull it together. And sometimes, and most of the time, it forms the federal allocation, the FAC as we have it, where you have the federal, states, and local governments get their own allocation.
Yeah.
And I hear arguments from states saying that we want an increase because majority of the funding that makes up FAC in itself that is to be redistributed comes from the states, either because the federal or is one in charge of solid minerals or this or that and the likes of that. And they strongly feel that they have contributed largely to the poor, so they get to say what should go back to them.
So they have 52, they have 48%.
Yes.
And the federal has 52%.
57, I think.
52%.
52, okay.
Out of the federal's 52%, it plows back to the states in different ways. It's the states that is building roads in most of those states. Even when they build roads in their states, they still bring back the receipt back to the federal. And today, it's on record that the states they are in some kind of udoji. If you know what udoji means, they have free, monies have been freed to them. But that they are, unfortunately, they are emperors in their states. Their state assemblies cannot raise queries. Civil society is muffled. If you travel around any state and listening on radio, for instance, the conversation is about Tinubu. It will never be about the governor of the state. Anytime you hear about the governor, it's about
positive news,
where he visited and who he went to see and all of that. So the states have directed the mind of their people to something far away. So don't look at us. Look at the problem you are having. Insecurity, lack of food. Every challenge that you are having is because there is some guy up there who doesn't do what he should do. But if you say, hey, sir, but I do know that you now have some resources to do that, then you attack the dissident. And then sometimes you are even, if you are not very careful, you disappear. So we are not ready for a conversation about how to liberate resources for our people. And even the people themselves have been so tailored to have a conversation that does not mainstream their own interests. The president had to shout that I'm running a constitutional democracy. Please talk to your governors. It got to that point. Talk to your governors. When there is huge insecurity, you say it's federal. But the commissioner of police, the director of state security service, they are all members of the state security council. And when it has to do with your opponents, you know how to use them to deal with your opponents. But when it comes for public good, you begin to say that they don't listen to you, they only listen to the federal. So it is about manipulation, not marginalization.
It's about manipulation, not marginalization.
It's about manipulation. It's not about marginalization. It's about unpacking the manipulation that has gone on successfully among the elite. And there is no platform to frontally confront this manipulation. And so there's a circus that goes on, every year, every legislative year. This circus of state creation bubble is all over the place. And then remember in 2014 National Conference, of which I was a member, we had over 100 requests for state creation. There were people who were also agitating that we should go back to parliamentary system, who are even saying abolish the states. There are those who are saying completely abolish the states and create more local governments. But some philosophers said that for forms of government, let fools contend. The challenge is not we were in regional, we came to states. The mentality, the manipulative tendencies of the elite is what is fostering the cry for marginalization. And that's what I wanted to underscore. That if we are able to get a conversation that puts accountability at the center, accountability, the ability of those who govern to be accountable to their people in an open, transparent manner. Can any state in Nigeria have in a state assembly that can query the governor on expenses and expenditure? Show me that state. So why do you want to reinforce this kind of thing elsewhere? All of us can, if you give me space now, I will talk about President, the way the federal government runs. I will say it without any, but if I talk about my state, a road will now pass through my house. Deliberately, a road, they will now show you a master plan that shows that my house is on the center of the road. It's happening in Niger already, where a radio station is being demolished. It's been threatened to be demolished because they criticize in a Boeing state. A journalist is. So the challenge, how do you reinforce this kind of thing, Femi? It's something that we should not, talk about. We should be able to build systems that can make more and more people feel safe in the spaces where they are right now. And that's why I tell you that is an elite conversation. If you go to Kitukupa or you go to Nguru in Yobe State and talk about state creation, the people themselves will tell you that is not what they worry about right now. They worry about their safety. They worry about food. They worry about electricity. They worry about hunger and starvation. That's the big conversation, and we are not willing. So these are distractions. It is these are distractions. And when I say they are elite distractions and conversation, I know what I'm saying. The National Assembly, like I said, you have 360 members, House of Rep members. You have 109 senators who should have constituency offices. Why are we not asking them to activate those offices and make them active public hearing centers? Can any member of the National Assembly go to his constituency now and table the conversation about state creation as a dominant conversation?
But it is actually supposed to come from the State House of Assembly, if I'm not mistaken, the process that builds up to it.
All of this, whether state, I'm talking about governance. When I'm talking about national legislature, I'm talking about subnational, national. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that they ought to have constituency offices. Am I right?
Yes, you're correct.
So if they are supposed to have constituency offices, why are you having public hearing all over the place? Why are you spending money to get venues to bring the people who come from constituencies to come and talk about state creation?
Maybe they don't feel safe going to the people.
Who doesn't feel safe?
The lawmakers.
Oh, and they are not government? I thought they are government. Who is government? So it's only in Nigeria that you hear somebody in the national, the Senate president say, government, we will talk to the government too. We will speak with the government. In the US, the Congress made about 11 resolutions all of the 11 resolutions were implemented by the government. This National Assembly will make over 400 and something resolutions, not one will be implemented. You know why? They make useless resolutions. Resolutions that are not backed by budget, that are not backed by science, that are not backed by reality. So we need to recalibrate conversations that help our people. That's just the central message.
Let me push back to accountability, which you mentioned. And I thought about it that there are two ways it usually plays out. The governor telling the people, this is how I spent your money, or this is how I spend the money. Then also the people knowing what is to be accounted for in many instances. Do you think we have a weakened population that doesn't even realize the right kind of questions to ask some of these governors, to ask some of their lawmakers as regards what did you say you do versus what you're doing, and how are you doing it? Because if you do not even know what is supposed to be, every new road, every new well, every new star projects like solar panels and the likes of that becomes what you need to do.
The population has been anesthetized by hunger, by religion, by divisions, manipulative divisions. And so the ability to ask questions are deadened by this anti-deluvial
social crisis, economic crisis,
right? So when they see the governor, or when they see a member of the House of, or when they see a councillor, that is not their concern. Their concern is that their son made certain scores in JAMB and has not been admitted. Help. Burial. We need resources to conduct the burial. My wife is pregnant. If you created a system that makes it difficult for those to become their issues, that's when I said anesthesia. When you anesthesia, is a political anesthesia that had deadened their ability to ask those right questions that you talk about. But for the government, it is deliberate, it is intentional. Why did Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, why did she start publishing allocation to states every month? It's a reform process that subsisted today. The idea was that Femi and Eze will take up those things. It will become a tool of advocacy that we can then tell our governor that this month
you were given,
you got X amount of money from the federal. Combine it with your IGR. Combine it with other things that come, ecological fund and the rest of them. This is the amount of money that comes to our state. Why is our roads still impassable? But we can't ask those questions. The majority of us can't ask those questions because we are also positioned to want to get the part of the cake. We are wired to meet the governor and ask for contracts and ask for patronage. If somebody is saying, Femi, you are very close to this person, can you take me to the place? He's not taking there to say, Oga, this road to our place has not been passable in the last. No, that's not why the guy is going there. He's going there to say, I just registered a company and we can do X, Y, Z. So the governor is happy to give you a token. And when that token is given to you, it is recorded. And that anesthetizes your ability to
ask questions.
To ask those questions. So when you see the way we are wired, ageism is part of it. I'm older than you. Religion is part of it. If you ask a question, they say, okay, it's because you are not a Catholic. The Anglican people are trying to, become opposition to this governor. If that doesn't work, they find that you are
from a tribe.
You are Yelwa in Ogun State, you are not Ijebu. Okay? Or you are Ilaro, you are from the Ilaro part, and the Ilaro part, they are in a position to the... So all of these conversations are the things that deaden our ability to raise questions. But in the midst of all of it, we must create active citizens who, in spite of these challenges that I've talked about, will rise to be able to pose. Because government by itself is also opening platforms of engagement. Like I said, the reform that Okonjo-Iweala brought in publishing FAC allocations to states was not just for the purpose of publication. It was supposed to be an advocacy tool. If federal government gives a contract or government gives a contract, the company awarded will put a signpost, is that not correct? Mm-hmm. And say, road, Eze's Company Limited, duration, 2 years, blah, 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 and then put the address of the company. 5 years after, that signboard will be there, the road will not be done. The people who are beneficiaries of that will never call that company. Who the address has been put there to say, you said this road, the duration is 2 years. Is it that the barber's clipper is not working or the head is not standing straight? Those are some of... So, but you see it and lament and say, see the signboard, they say they could do it for 2 years, but 5 years, they never still do the road. We go and sleep. Even when the road is done, it's supposed to have shoulders and all of that. They just do the road, go away. The contractor goes away. The beneficiaries themselves don't say, Mr. Contractor, we had information that you are supposed to put, shoulders and water passages for this road, but you just didn't. No. That's where active citizenship. You don't need social media. You don't need Twitter to be able to pose these kind of questions that I'm raising. So you see that government by itself also helps citizens by even some kind of disclosures that they can latch on.
Measured disclosures.
They can latch on to ask questions. But our own inertia, because of these issues that I've raised, and, everybody wanting to be okay, don't do so that they don't come and kill you and all that. And then the people who, as you are doing that, people are still dying and they are not. Boreholes are, in communities are given in communities. The day of the commissioning is the day water will flow. After it, water will stop flowing. The community will never go back to say there is no longer water.
Or the lawmaker has to pump water with his shoulders, no biceps coming up. Really
yes, but that's on that day, on the day of the
launch.
He will drink water from another source. He will take water from another source, and then the people will shout, hey! Immediately he leaves that place, there is no water. Abortive boreholes are dug for the people. So the big issue is that it's an interrelational thing that we need to get involved in. Mobilize our people in a way that they can latch on even small opportunities that have been created to make life more meaningful for us.
Since 1999 until 2014, when Confab really did come, Confab really raised a number of issues, raised a lot of issues in many directions, some problematic, some indicative of how Nigeria is. And everybody since then, from 2014 or thereabout, even before then, had their fingers pointing at, Mr. President, what have you done to resolve this? Do you think some of the state governors and the way they carry out their business, even now under the joint administration, or should I say at the time where President Tinubu is leading, do you think they're setting up to fail, or he himself is failing to hold them to account? Or is there any measure of accountability that should run between the president and governors?
Well, the governors are not they are not schoolboys that you can direct any way you like. You can only persuade. Let me tell you,
But that's democratically. We know there are political tools that people do use.
Those tools are undemocratic tools.
Like President Obasanjo had the way with his government.
So you can't use that as an example.
Why not?
You can't use President Obasanjo as an example because part of what he did was that he destroyed democratic ethos. He ambushed democratic structures, and that has to do with, and that kind of foundation that he laid, the people who came after him continued. And that's why you can't truly say that we are only civilianizing, we are not democratic yet. There are democratic thinking. There is democratic thinking. And part of what Obasanjo did with the political parties, with everything, with the National Assembly, was to, railroad. And in a democracy, you don't railroad. You persuade, you explain, and it is not a microwave thing. It is not put it in there, get it out. So even though we are feeling something, we don't scratch to the point of blood because we are feeling something, then we start scratching. You understand, until blood starts coming out. No, that's not it. You help the situation by ensuring that you are careful. Democracy, and I've made this point very carefully, and I'm always saying so. Yes, there are desires that we have. We want them resolved very quickly. And we got the immediate effect mentality from the military, which Obasanjo is one. And even the Buhari was managing not to be called a dictator,
Reform Democrat.
Yes, but all of those things are part of our learning curve in terms of strengthening democracy. So I don't want us to use those filibuster methods and Philistine methods that Obasanjo used to achieve certain ends, to mean anything. Removing, elected, go to the National Assembly, legislature, remove their leadership in a very, untoward manner. And those are not examples that remove party chairmen and then appropriated even the leadership of the party. It is Obasanjo that started this. Is the leader of the party. The president is the leader of the party. There is no constitution of any party where the president is put as the leader. He is a member of the party. And if you watch the Second Republic, when the likes of Adisa Akinloye and the rest of them were chairmen of parties, when you come to party meetings, the president sits. The president does not even sit at the top table. So those are some of the things that these guys, Obasanjo changed, and to the point where the governor's wife is now the leader of the women leader, and then the husband is the leader of the party. Party meetings are held in government houses, held in the villa. I think all of that is being. I see President Tinubu trying to change those things now, trying to attend party meetings in the secretariat of their party. But we need to emulate those other good things. But let's not play up what diminishes us. What we should not take glory in. Even if you get an outcome that is good from a bad process, it is still not good.
And I like the fact that you've established that, because a lot of people usually when presidents leave the government, people say, they did better than the person who is there now. And now that we're under President Tinubu, back to the central question around his relationship and persuading them, let me use your words, persuading them to the right set of actions. Why do you think it's not happening as fast as it might? And with some catching on themselves, there are some star governors. I like to use the word star governors who are jump starters, who know what it entails to maybe move the people and lead their people. Like you mentioned earlier, the Ebonyi, Abia, and some few other states. But then there are some also that are quite redundant and rather want status quo to remain the same.
Well, you can't give what you don't have. If you are not a Democrat, you can't practice democracy. And many were not prepared for governance. That's why some of them are going back to school. You see somebody who is a governor now going to Harvard or going to Kennedy School of Business to go and take a course. If you knew you were going to be going to school, then you should have allowed people who were prepared and ready. So, but the big issue is that democracy is not a walk in the park. It throws up sour grapes. Sometimes the teeth can be edgy, but you learn from it. And I think that if the president, through force of personal example, shows that he's a Democrat, by not withholding what belongs to the states, he's creating a harmonious relationship. But greed is part of why people do what they do. They want to take everything. If you are a governor, what legitimately comes to you is sufficient. But they want to have for this generation and next generation. But history does not even help them in that way. There are people who have been what they are today, and they can look back and see whether what they accumulated, helped those generations that they thought they were trying to help. So, but for me, I just think when you say star governors, I want to see those who are allowing their local governments the resources that don't get paid back. Because what's happening is that the local governments receive their allocation and give it back to their governors. In many states of the federation, the chairman, the process through which they emerge anyway, you also know is a coronation, is not an election. So those who have been coronated chairmen are obliged to resend the monies they have been received, because the process that brought them in were not democratic in the first instance. So they sign, they have undated letters of resignation that they have handed over to their governors, and they are bringing back these monies. Even the ones you call star governors. Allow this local government fund. Financial autonomy to the local governments is a desideratum for increasing the livelihood of the majority of people who live in our local governments. So, but the ambush by the governors, including the ones we call star governors, surprisingly, and there's a Supreme Court judgment that has made that. But the president is even negotiating that Supreme Court judgment to say, please, let the local governments have their money. But as I speak to you now, many of the governors have undated letters of resignation by the chairman. If you refuse to bring that money, they throw in your resignation. So, and they have sworn to an oath of silence, of secrecy, not to speak up. And that's why you still find that in spite of what the Supreme Court did, through the AG going to court, the conditions in the local communities have yet to respond to what they should be receiving. So it's a difficult thing. They are not schoolboys that you can direct the way you want. They are not prefects, that you can. The Constitution. They are mini governments. They are mini governments. They are in charge of their own government. So it's a reciprocal relationship. It's not one in which you can dictate to them what to do. The Constitution has already, and where they refuse to do so, the only thing you can do is to go to court. And even when you go to that court, like you have seen the Supreme Court ruling now, they are still trying to. It is only in Nigeria that Supreme Court will give a ruling, then the people will go and go back to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court to rescind his own ruling. It's crazy.
We have to leave it at that this very lovely day. My guest has been Ezenwa Nwagu. He is the director of Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center. You can follow their work, PAACA. Just search online for them. They provide quite a number of advocacy documents on issues, on elections, on national life, and much more. And yes, they have their own TV program that also runs on NTA. And yes, much value is derived from there. And insights from brilliant people also do appear there. Thank you, Ezenwa, for coming on Volume with FemiDlive.
Thank you for having me on the Volume.
All right. I look forward to your comments on this. Okay. So wherever you are in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria, your thoughts on this is really mindful to document. So please feel free to write in what you think. And yes, ask the people in your communities what has been done for them lately, if anybody has even indicated to be leading them. That would be good to know. Let's know what you think and share that with us, okay? Follow through with the comments and write your responses right there and there. Thank you so much for watching Volume with FemiDlive. I am Femi D. Amele.